Carrying a cross and the hilt's already fading. Leather in my grip, I never miss my swing. River running red from the dead, escaping. Heaven or hell, take the land between. And I bear this weight that I'm under, and no force could tempt a kneel. I bend for honor only, no this seal, it's not real. This shattered will define a spirit burning and honest. My demons paralyzed, terrified. They branded sacrifice, so tarnished early and often. My fury justified. Sealed up my fate and read the embers of scarlet taste. My blade remembers. Temper my crown, yeah. I wield what can't decay. No, feel the fury inside. Try to bury my pride, but I'll rob the grave. My skin to stone, my flesh to onyx. This gravity is daunting. The poison breath, this blood of death cannot infect my conscience. Cause I've been here before. Bloodstains on altar doors. And I wish I was more, but I jail my doubts and Aaron's sword, yeah. This shattered will define a spirit burning and honest. My demons paralyzed, terrified. They branded sacrifice, so tarnished early and often. My fury justified. I decide. Sealed up my fate and read the embers of scarlet taste. My blade remembers. Temper my crown, yeah. I wield what can't decay. No, feel the fury inside. Try to bury my pride, but I'll rob the grave. Members, temper my crown, yeah. I wield what can't decay. No, feel the fury inside. Try to bury my pride, but I'll rob the grave.
Death, become my blade once more.
Carrying a cross and the hilt's already fading. Leather in my grip, I never miss my swing. River running red from the dead, escaping. Heaven or hell, take the land between. And I bear this weight that I'm under, and no force could tempt a kneel. I bend for honor only, no this seal, it's not real. This shattered will define a spirit burning and honest. My demons paralyzed, terrified. They branded sacrifice, so tarnished early and often. My fury justified. Sealed up my fate and read the embers of scarlet taste. My blade remembers. Temper my crown, yeah. I wield what can't decay. No, feel the fury inside. Try to bury my pride, but I'll rob the grave. My skin to stone, my flesh to onyx. This gravity is daunting. The poison breath, this blood of death cannot infect my conscience. Cause I've been here before. Bloodstains on altar doors. And I wish I was more, but I jail my doubts and Aaron's sword, yeah. This shattered will define a spirit burning and honest. My demons paralyzed, terrified. They branded.
Wow, it's been quite some time since it's just been a duo, hasn't it? But hello, all you beasts. I know. I'm trying, anyways. Hi, all you BC WrestlePod nerds out there, and welcome to another rendition of the Takedown Troupe review, your weekly TNA Wrestling Review Squad. I am one of your hosts this evening, Mikey, and joining me this evening is, well, the person that started all this with me way back in the day a year ago, which was kind of crazy. So, little background knowledge, when we first created BC WrestlePod about a year and some change ago, TNA and NXT were done by myself only, as nobody else on the team was willing to watch TNA and NXT. And then through previous relationship and friendship and just conversations with Will right here, he's like, hey, let me give TNA a try. And we haven't looked back ever since. We picked up Andrew along the way, who will be joining us back in the winter. So I look forward to his return. But it'll be actually sooner than that because he's said that he would be coming back for Bound for Glory in a couple weeks. So I'm okay with that. But for now, it is going to be just the two of us, like back in the good old days. But of course, my ride or die, my lovable person, the person that is with me through thick and thin, but also himself, Will, who is also kind of dealing with lots of crazy things. Apparently, you don't have a desk. Like what?
I mean, I'm in the process of building a desk.
Oh, okay. See, that's cooler than what I imagined in my head. Like,
It's a whole thing.
it's a whole project. I may have to fly you out to build me one. Anyways, we are here to review this week's episode of TNA Wrestling that took place Thursday, September 5th, 2024. We are in the season of TNA where we have 2 weeks until the next paper. We just did Emergence literally this past weekend, and now Victory Road is next week.
Mm-hmm.
And so the funny thing is that we're going to cover this episode, and we're also going to do our predictions because more info to come at the end. But spoiler alert, we will not be having a TNA wrestling review next week, as me and Will and a random luchador running around the BC WrestlePod parts are going to be having a live watch along for the CMLL 91st anniversary show, which is super exciting, but more info to come after the show. Will, I don't know about you, and we talked a little bit earlier throughout the day. This was an interesting show, but for me and you, it kind of felt like outside of like some cool moments, this really felt all over the place when it came to stuff. And I'm just like, okay.
Yeah, I agree. It wasn't. I don't know what it was, to be honest. There was obviously some really good moments, and it was all over the place. I didn't know what to make of it.
Yeah, and I don't know whether to attribute it because these tapings are recently new, but also I don't know if we want to attribute the fact that we have a whole nother pay-per-view next Friday. So who knows if that with the quick turnaround, because we'll talk about it when we get to our predictions, because literally Victory Road is what I call Victory Road, the rematch pay-per-view, because everyone's invoking rematch clauses left and right.
Oh, I know.
So we'll talk about that when we get there. But let's kick things off. So TNA Wrestling this week kicks off what we normally been used to seeing. We have the whole entire system in the ring. So Moose, Eddie Edwards, Brian Myers, Alicia Edwards, and a bedazzled neck brace, and Mr. Johnny Curtis Dango himself, JDC, the honorary member. So I don't even need to go over this because, again, it's every time we get a system opening up the show, it's the same thing. They talk. It's the same thing. This time they're just like, we are in the middle of a reboot. Like the system is rebooting. And basically, this is where we get confirmation for a bunch of things. Number one, we already know Moose is invoking his rematch clause to face Nick Nemeth at Victory Road. That we knew of. Then we have Brian Myers and Eddie Edwards tell the crowd and us at home that they're invoking their rematch clause to face ABC at Victory Road for the tag team titles. The only thing that was different is that when Alicia was talking, Spitfire comes out and interrupts, and they talk to Santino, and, Alicia agrees to this once the stakes are raised, that Spitfire gets one more shot at the Knockouts Tag Team Championships, but If Spitfire lose this match, they must break up as a tag team. So I hate this either way. Number one, we are either going to see them win these titles, and I hate that we had to use the stipulation, or worst case scenario, they lose and Danny Luna and Jody Threat are no longer a tag team, which I'm going to be honest, Will, we can't do that right now because we barely have enough Knockouts tag teams to begin with.
I know.
Will, like, what, again, for me, this is what we've grown accustomed to from the system, but how did you feel about the actual promo itself and the fact that the whole entire system is invoking rematch clauses with the exception of Spitfire?
Okay. To be absolutely and honestly truthful, I skipped through it. I just, it's
what?
like
That
they
is
started
fair.
they started talking, and I'm just like, I'm done. I'm done. I mean, and it's not because of they were doing a promo. It's because don't open your show with that. I'm sorry. Throw a match up. I don't give a shit what it is. Just, oh, excuse me, but just throw up
We're
something.
far enough and you can curse.
Okay, cool. Well, I mean, it's like, I mean, I don't even care if it was a squash match. You open it with something, and then have the system come out and interrupt or something. But to open your show with that, I was just like, no. I literally was like, okay, fast forward, fast forward, fast forward, fast forward. Oh, wait, they're still talking. Fast forward, fast forward, fast forward. They talked forever. And I'm like,
say it was like the first 15 minutes.
yeah, it was so long. I was like, skip, 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 skip. Holy crap, they're still talking. Skip, 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 skip. I mean, I skipped like 3 different times. And I'm just like, and then Spitfire came out, and I was like, okay, got a little more interesting at that point. But then it was just like, okay, here we go again. More talking. No, 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 no. And I was just like, this could have been like, they could have come out and said, you know what? We're like rebooting. We're putting our clauses into effect. Take it. Boom. Drop a mic. Spitfire comes out and go, look here. We're going to come and challenge you. Okay, let's do it. Drop mic. Done. Move on. It did not have to draw out like that. Every member of the system did not have to speak.
We could have did a pre-tape promo and then had
Hell
the
yeah.
reaction from everyone. Like, a pre-tape promo would have been fine. And you know, I don't dislike the system. I still think that
I don't dislike them either.
I just think that because of the fact that what was it, the last like 2 or 3 months of TNA, we started with them opening up the show. It's the same issue I have with a certain other company when a certain Samoan was the champion and we opened a certain you know what? You know, we're in the age where we can talk about other promotions. Yeah. So in WWE, when Roman Reigns was champion, SmackDown always opened up with some sort of Roman Reigns promo that was like the first 15, 20 minutes. And I'm just sitting here. I'm just like, no, we already know. I don't want to hear this. Like,
You know what would have been really cool? What would have been really cool is if, like, say they opened up a random squash match, you know, just whoever, throw 2 wrestlers in there, let them go. And like in the middle of that, all the lights go out. And on all of the video screens, you see that the Matrix thing happening. And then you hear Moose's like voice, like synthesized, saying the system is rebooting. And then pop them up on the video screen going, we're coming for you. We want our rematch. We're going to this, that, and the other thing. I would have been so much cooler with that than what they did in this episode. It was so boring. It was like the same crap, different day. I was just like, okay, all right, moving on. We know what you're doing. you said it. Now you can stop talking. But oh no, they had to keep going because every member had to say something. And I'm like, ugh.
Not everyone needs a mic, and it's not open mic night. But we could have condensed this to 5 minutes because ultimately the important thing to take away from this is that outside of Moose, the rest of the system will be in action at Victory Road. So we go from this 15-minute promo. And also, by the way, last thing is, like, if Spitfire breaks up, I might cry. I'm just going to put it out there. We cannot be splitting up to Knockouts tag teams because we barely have enough as it is. But anyways, we'll see what happens with that. So after this little segment, we quickly go backstage where Miss Gia Miller, shout out to Gia Miller, she ended up on number 2 in the top 10 backstage correspondents and PW Insider for professional wrestling. So congratulations to Gia. She is just behind number 1 spot belonging to Renee Paquette in AEW, which honestly, I would love to be in the number 2 position because Renee is fantastic, but I love that Gia ended up in number 2. So shout out to her. But she is backstage and she talks to Eric Young. And basically, Eric Young kind of sets the stage a little bit for what's to come, but also recapped what happened at Emergence, where, him and Steve Macklin fought. They had issues before, but now Eric Young says that if Macklin needs his help, that he'd be willing to help because now that they respect each other. And, Gia asked, for his upcoming match with Jake Something, how is Eric Young going to answer, Jake Something? And then Eric closes this backstage segment out by saying, he's like, look, Jake is an animal. He is a monster. He is just a wild child, so to speak. But I'm going to have to do what I have to do to win. So it sets up for what we're going to get later in the evening. We'll talk more about that match when we get there. But I forgot how much I missed Eric Young on my television screen. I'm glad he's now on weekly television again. I love me some Eric Young. Missed his presence, especially now that, since the beginning of this year, he's been built up as like the spokesperson for TNA Wrestling. So it was nice to see. So this is then where we get into the weird part of the evening, because first we originally have a match scheduled, Kushida versus Laredo Kid. And we do get this match for like 5 to 6 minutes before, surprise, surprise, Josh Alexander comes out, causes DQ, throws Kushida and Laredo Kid out the ring and just destroys them. So I'm not going to lie, Will, at first I was pissed. I was like, really? Is this what we're doing now? But then when I saw Kushida get on the mic, it's like, nah, we ain't having this. Get your ass in the ring now. Josh is like, no. He runs up to the ramp. Kushida blindsides him, and then we cut to commercial. And when we get back, we officially have Kushida versus Josh Alexander in a singles match. And I have to say, I'm like, my God, this match ruled, Will. Holy shit. I was like, I did not know I wanted Kushida and Josh Alexander until I got it on my television screen last night.
This was my match of the night.
Oh, mine too. This was absolutely so good.
I was just like, holy crap. It was the fight I never realized I wanted. Because I never thought, Kushida and Josh Alexander, because they're both, at that time, they were both faces. But then all of a sudden, I'm just like, it happened. And I was like, where has this been? I love this. And now if we get a Josh Alexander Kushida rivalry, I'm here for it. Because that match was, as you say, was fire.
I love that you're using the lingo. I love it so much.
So, yeah, it was so good. I think that's the first message I sent you.
Honestly, I was very, very surprised with how good this match was. This match went through 2 picture-in-picture breaks / commercial breaks. This is a pretty decently lengthy match. And of course, I figured that Josh was going to win. But man, I would love for TNA to run Kushida and Josh Alexander again at some point, because I knew how good Kushida was by himself, and we all know how good Josh is by himself. But when you put them together, this is a match I didn't know I wanted until I saw it, and now I want another one. So ultimately, Josh Alexander does pick up the win here by hitting a C4 spike on Kushida.
Yep.
And then, then something interesting happens, because we'll talk about it when we get to our main event. But Kushida ends up walking up the ramp. Josh is still celebrating in the ring. And then we get a cutaway to in real time of Kushida walking back up the ramp, who is hurting in his neck from getting C4 spiked. He crashed. Kushida kind of just lays down on one of the rolling cases in the back. The referee is checking on him, and then who should show up to check on Kushida but say his name and he will appear. We believe in Joe Hendry. I had to do the clap there. So Joe Hendry checks in on Kushida. Josh Alexander comes through the curtain, and Hendry and Alexander have a verbal scuffle. before before they go their separate ways. And then it was at this particular moment, Will, I was like, something's gonna go down tonight. I don't know what it is, but if it's gonna give me Hendry and Alexander in some way, you have my money, TNA.
Yep, I agree.
Listen, and I want to get on my little soapbox real quick because I am super happy of how over Joe Hendry is getting as not only somebody who loves TNA wrestling and loves Joe Hendry for all the reasons that you can think of, but I have been blessed to see him on multiple occasions this week, from NXT television this past Tuesday to his match against Ethan Page at No Mercy. And now he's here fighting Josh Alexander. I'm just like, Joe Hendry might be one of my favorite wrestlers in 2024. This man is anywhere and everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
I love it so much.
Yep.
And you know what? Yeah, I was like, oh, this is great. So, Will, at this point, obviously we know what happens later, but how did you feel the exchange between Alexander and Hendry went?
Oh, I think it went great. I wasn't really expecting it. And so it kind of came out of nowhere, and I was kind of like, okay, all right. And then when it was like, after it was done, I was just like, oh, this is what I'm saying. I mean, I was like, everybody's going to have it out for Josh Alexander. My God, he is not making any friends anywhere, which is great, you know, for his new thing. But I was just like, wow. I was like, okay, if we're going to get a Joe Hendry, Josh Alexander, like something going on, a little story arc, I'm here for it. I'm absolutely here for it. Because then now it's like, you know, now with this new Josh Alexander's, like his new persona, it's literally like, you know, good versus evil, you know? I mean, I know. I mean, Josh isn't evil, but I'm just saying it's that idea of good versus bad, you know? And it's like, oh, you know, you send an angel to fight a demon, you know, that sort of thing. So I'm excited. I hope we get something out of it other than just, you know, glances or verbal words.
Right. So at this point, I was just like, I love that we're continuing to tell the story from what went down at Slammiversary back in July, which makes me super excited. So then we go to commercial, we come back, and we get our second match of the evening. This is an open challenge for the TNA World Knockouts Championship, where Jordynne Grace arrives in the ring first. She makes her entrance and everything, and so then we wait to see who answers the open challenge, right? So I can't stop laughing at this because this part killed me like in the best way possible. So we have our ring announcer announce and then answering Jordynne's challenge, and then all of a sudden we get the music from Miss Ariana Grace from NXT, and I was howling, Will. Oh my goodness, I was laughing so hard. I almost spit water out my nose when I saw this. I was like, there is no flipping way that this woman is about to fight Jordynne Grace. Now, I think it'd be hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, there's no way. And then she gets on the mic. She's like, you guys, as being the representative for NXT to build that bridge and let's collaborate. I am here to introduce Jordynne's actual opponent and my best friend. And then we get the entrance and answering Jordynne's challenge is Miss Carmen Petrovic of NXT. And I was just like, I'm sold. Like, let's go. I like Carmen, but Ariana Grace made this so much fun too.
Oh my God, she did.
I was like, hey, Santino's daughter. What are you doing here?
So funny. It's like bring your daughter to work day.
It literally was, because Santino literally brought his daughter to work with him, and she's so much fun on the mic.
She was. She's the great. You know, I remember when she first appeared. Sorry, we're talking about another thing, but I remember when she first came.
It's related because TNA and NXT have this ongoing relationship.
I remember when she first came to NXT. It was like we were both like, oh man, this like beauty pageant trope. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh my God, I love her. I love her every time now. Every time I see her do anything, I'm just like, I love you. You're so amazing. So I was very excited, but I was also like, okay, is this a joke? This has got to be a joke.
I know. At first, I was like, "There's no way Ariana Grace is going to face Jordan," and then, of course, she introduces Carmen, which then gets her match under the way. Will, when I tell you, I was not expecting this match to go as long as it did, but we got a whole commercial break between these two, and I gotta be honest. Of all the NXT women to come in to face Jordan, I feel like Carmen is the only one so far to be able to keep up with her outside of Roxanne, but that's because Roxanne is our champion in NXT. Carmen looked great this match, Will. I was so surprised.
She did. I was very impressed. I was like, for a second there, I won't lie. For a second there, I was like, ooh, she could take this away from her. I thought, are they really? I literally was like, are they really going to take Jordan's title away from her? It's like, because that's what it felt like. It literally, because Carmen was like, she was dishing it, man. She was not like, oh, hi, I'm cannon fodder. She was like, I'm here to whoop your ass. And honestly, I was like, yo, girl, go.
So I didn't think that Jordan was going to lose, but I will say there were moments here that they made me believe, oh, Carmen's actually answering some of Jordan's maneuvers and how, like, her wrestling too. I'm like, and then what I love too is shout out to commentary team, because not to say she doesn't do this so much in NXT, but I liked watching Carmen use more of her her martial arts background fighting Jordan, because we know Jordan to be a powerhouse, and so Carmen used her martial arts background to, one, keep distance away from Jordan, but that spinning back kick to the back of Jordan's head, oh my God, Jordan sold that beautifully. I was like,
oh, she did.
I was like, yes, Carmen. I think what I wanted from Jordan's Open Challenges with the NXT girls coming in, I wanted to feel that Jordan is also putting them over, even though we know she's going to win. Not to say that she didn't put any of the other women over, but her matches with Tatum and Izzy, while they were good, they were just like, oh, okay, this is fine. I feel like Carmen is the first NXT crossover to be able to keep up with Jordan and kind of match her energy a little bit, which was a really breath of fresh air.
I agree. I mean, I didn't think Jordan was going to lose either. I just was like, because I was looking at it from, if I was like new to this and didn't know anything about what was going on, there were moments in that match where I was like, oh, this Carmen girl could probably take this Jordan girl. Because there were moments that I was just like, oh, okay, this is not just a come in, let me kick your ass and let's go home. It was like, Carmen's like, I'm here, bitch, let's take it, let's do it. One of us is walking out of this ring, a winner, one of us isn't. And I didn't feel that. I felt that Carmen she didn't hold her punches. She was like full on committed. And I think that kind of threw Jordan for a little bit of a loop. I mean, and it was like, which, they played very well. I mean, it was like, because there was a couple of moments where the look on Jordan's face was like, oh, damn, I wasn't expecting that. And I was like, well played, girls, well played. But I agree with you. This is the first time of all the ones I've seen that I was like, ooh, this could have been it. This could have been the one.
It really could have. And honestly, I thought this was a spectacular match.
It was.
It was fantastic. Jordan does pull up the win here. However, as Jordan is celebrating, the lights go out. And then, of course, when they come back on, Jordan Grace is laid out with the title next to her, but there is a random pillow inside of the ring. And then the camera cuts to Rosemary in the top row of, the audience members, hysterically laughing and cackling. And so I literally like almost texted the boys, but I was like, I don't want to give spoilers away because nobody has watched it yet. But I was like, that pillow, I was like, oh my gosh, is Wendy Chu about to cross over to TNA Wrestling? And I was like, hell yes, because it makes sense because Rosemary and Wendy Chu over on NXT the last 2 weeks have been kind of teaming up. And I'm like, I am here for this crossover. Give me darkness. It's going to be fantastic. So now Jordan is going to NXT next week to have an open challenge, and I would not be surprised if it's Wendy Chu that answers it.
Right. That would make sense.
Oh my goodness, that'd be so. It was really, really fun. I cannot wait. So after this match, backstage, we have what starts as a promo from ABC. They get interrupted by AJ Francis and Casey Navarro of First Class 2.0, as I call it right now, because 1.0 is out of commission until Rich Swann comes back from, being suspended and everything. And basically what this boils down to is that AJ Francis makes the argument that, him and Casey should have won those championships at Emergence. And ABC are like, nah, bro, you still lost. But if you want to, go talk to Santino and we can run it back. So ultimately, this little segment sets up that next week we will have a World Tag Team Championship match with ABC defending the titles against AJ and Casey. Spoiler alert, I don't think First Class is winning these, but I was like, you know what? Normally I don't like AJ Francis talking. I was like, sir, you do not need to talk. But you know what? I don't mind him in this, and shout out, and I want to give kudos to TNA for, pivoting a little bit and still continuing the story despite like real life stuff coming into the way to kind of derail it a little bit. And shout out to Casey Navarro getting this spot and being able to be on TNA television. Like, he's killing it right now. I actually like Casey Navarro. And of course, because I watch all of the wrestling, it's nice to see him. Casey Navarro is the brother of Ring of Honor wrestler Diamante, who is also killing it in Ring of Honor. She's fantastic. So shout out to Casey. But Will, do we see First Class having a lick of a chance beating ABC for these titles?
Better not. I'll be pissed. I don't like AJ Francis. I don't like him. I don't like him. I don't like him. And it's because he doesn't like Joe Hendry, and that irritates me. But I don't. I cannot even imagine. Of course, TNA has done dumb shit before, so who knows? And I think that would be a dumb move. I don't think, because it doesn't make any sense. Some of their dumb moves has made sense. This one would not. So I don't think they're winning those titles.
I don't think so either, especially since ABC has the system waiting in the wings at Victory Road. So I don't think so either, but who knows? So we get a little vignette, and this has me pumped as hell. So we get like a blurred background, and we have some fire burning. And walking behind the fire, blurred out, is someone speaking, I want to say Mandarin. I'm not too keen on my dialect, but it is some sort of Chinese. I don't know if it's Mandarin, Cantonese. But what I love is that to end the promo, we have this person talking in their native tongue, how they are coming to TNA soon. And then we get the fan to kind of end the whole thing. So for those of you who have been following NXT or WWE for for pretty much this year too, I think TNA is about to sign Xia Li. So if we remember when we were doing the NXT reviews, Will and I actually reviewed this when Xia had a match against Lyra Valkyria for the NXT Women's Championship all the way back last year. And they had the whole tea ceremony and everything, which was fantastic, by the way. That was a really fun cultural segment. But then, of course, Xia got let go from WWE, and it seems she's coming to TNA. So, yes, give me Miss Matrix and martial arts. I'm kind of here for it. It's going to be fantastic. And I actually think, and I saw this on the internet, and I think this is great, with a lot of the older guard of the TNA Knockouts division that held it down for the last couple of years, TNA signing these new women to kind of be the next iteration and generation of Knockouts to come has me excited, because we got Xia Li coming in. We're going to talk about Heather Reckless a little bit later in the show being signed. So I'm excited. Listen, I'm never going to say no with TNA signing more knockouts to their division.
Oh, absolutely not. We need more. Give us more. Like,
More,
the more
please.
the
More.
merrier.
Exactly. We love women up in here. We love our knockouts division. We really do.
Yep.
Okay. So then this gets into the weird part of the show for me. So, as we saw from Emergence, coming out to the ring next is our new X Division champion, Zachary Wentz of the Rascals, who won the championship in the Ultimate X match at Emergence. And he comes out, not only is he our new X Division champion, but in the shock of all shocks to me, as somebody who watched and reviewed NXT No Mercy, he beat Wes Lee at the pay-per-view, which I did not think they were going to let him do, but he did. By the way, if you have not seen his finisher of the UFO cutter, is a thing of beauty. But Zachary Wentz is in the ring and he cuts a promo basically talking about how happy he is. You know, he wasn't sure if he was going to return to professional wrestling when everything went down, when he and Wes were stripped of the NXT Tag Team Championships due to allegations of DV, which turned out not to be true. And he was going to quit, but then he came to TNA and all of his hard work paid off because now he is a champion. And before he can get any further, he is interrupted by Speedball Mike Bailey, who comes down to the ring. This was a really weird way to say all this. It was very like Kung Fu-esque movie. It's like Wentz. It's just like, I must come out here to congratulate you on your championship, but I want a rematch at Victory Road. Will you accept? I know that's horrible for me interacting with this, but anybody who has seen old school Kung Fu movies with the bad dubs back in the 60s and the 70s and partially of the 80s, I am a child of the 90s and I even know this mess, but like anybody who was around those times, watch those Kung Fu movies, that is exactly how this segment felt. Is that a little bit racist? Not really, but that's what it felt like. It was so weird how Mike Bailey delivered this. I'm like, sir, you just walked out of Cobra Kai and the Karate Kid. I need you to take it back a couple of steps. Like, what is happening here? Will, like, this was bizarre. Like, before we talk about what happens afterwards with the good hands coming out, how do we feel about this little interaction between Wentz and Bailey?
Well, I mean, you know, I think my whole thing is how I'm kind of tired of all of the rematch stuff. You know, it's like, okay, here we go again. Okay, here we go again. Okay, here we go again. So I was like, but then I was like, okay, that's cool. Because actually, funny thing is I actually like Wentz as a solo fighter, like a lot. And I absolutely, you know, I love Mike Bailey. So I was like, okay, I would watch this match again. So I'm pretty hyped. I thought the delivery was weird. Yes. You know, it almost felt like, you know, when like Western speakers speak to someone of a foreign nation.
Yeah.
And they kind of speak slow to them and in broken structure.
Hate it, but
kind of what it felt like.
It's
kind of what it felt like. Okay, that was weird. That was a choice. I mean, not my choice that I would have made, but hey, whatever.
Absolutely. So I'm just like, all right, well, you know, we get a rematch, and honestly, I'm looking forward to Speedball versus Zachary Wentz at Victory Road. But we weren't done quite yet, because then we had everybody's favorite heel tag team, the Good Hands, come out and basically, you know, cut a promo saying that Jason Hotch should have won the X Division Championship, and they waste no time because then they jump our boys in the ring. And without Santino coming out to say anything official, we just get a whole entire match next of Speedball Mike Bailey and Zachary Wentz versus the Good Hands. And I was just like, I'm sensing a pattern in this show. I'm sensing a pattern in this show. Now, this match was fun, though I will say it was kind of a little bit short. It was like 7-8 minutes, and then in the blink of an eye, it was over. I was like, okay.
But you know what, though?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, yeah, it was like, okay, that was weird. It was short. It was done, but then Mike and Wentz fighting together actually felt right.
It does, because both of them are X Division stars. Surprisingly, despite how they look, both of them have been in this business for a while. And now I kind of like that Speedball Mike Bailey is teaming up with Wentz for right now, because as I learned on social media, thanks to our correspondent and our friend Andrew, apparently Trey Miguel has been out for a couple weeks because he tore something in his arm, but he is ready to come back. So that's why he's been missing from in-ring action for the last couple of weeks. So I'm wondering if it would have been the Rascals versus the Good Hands, but I'm kind of glad that we got Bailey and Wentz versus the Good Hands.
Right. I agree. It was just like, wow, they fight well together.
I was really surprised of how good their chemistry was. And honestly, this was a really fun match too. Like, the Good Hands are one of the few tag teams that actually have tag team chemistry together. And so they did a good job of going. It was a lot more back and forth than I thought it was, because, you know, of course, our heroes get jumped, but I was figuring the Good Hands were about to get trounced. But it was a lot more back and forth than I thought. And yeah, Bailey and Wentz as the tag team, like, depending on how things shake up, I'm kind of here for it. So Zach and Mike pick up the win here. We do get confirmation officially from our commentators that we get an X Division Championship match at Victory Road. And, you know, I'm super excited for that. I think that one should be fun. And then we enter the realm of the creepy, because Rosemary in some kitchen backstage at wherever they're at is cutting this very, like, I don't even know what to describe it. I was just like, ma'am, I need you to have several seats. Somebody call 911, because Rosemary is on the loose. And she begins talking to herself and like an invisible figure that's there too, talking about, can we trust them? Yes, we trust them. No, we don't trust them. I was like, all right, Two-Face, sit down. Like, it's okay. I was just waiting for Rosemary to pull out the coin, and I was just like, here we go. But I'm very interested to see who Rosemary is referring to.
Oh, I know.
I was like, I know she's been working with Wendy, but it didn't seem like in this promo that she was talking specifically about Wendy. It seems like she was talking about somebody else and completely different.
I agree. I don't know who she was. I know. I was like, what's going on? I don't understand what's going on here.
I was like, and now you have me intrigued again, TNA.
Yep.
So
indeed,
I'm super excited for that. Okay. So I want to preface by putting this up on the screen really quickly, because we're about to talk about Steph DeLander and Matthew Cardona. And we're going to talk about my feelings about this, because maybe this is just me being a little, being a little bitch, Will, but
no, because I know where you're going.
I was uncomfortable watching this thing, but let's talk about it, and then we can discuss our feelings and why, what you think the way we are. So before we cut to commercial, we see Steph DeLander coming out in her best Jack Skellington Nightmare Before Christmas cosplay, which I loved. I was like, I want to be fabulous like Steph DeLander when I grow up. Like, and then when they showed her walking backstage too, I'm like, my God, those are some high platforms. I'm like, you get it, girl. I also love that PCO was trying to fight his way through the door, and Steph had to like kind of comically like cartoon push him back into the door and close it. She's like, I got this, boo. So she comes down to the ring. She wants Matthew Cardona, so Matt Cardona, but he's in trouble with me, so I'm gonna call him by his full name. So Matthew Cardona comes down to the ring, and because Steph calls him out, Steph's like, "Why did you do it?" And then the first sentence that Mr. Cardona says is like, "Steph, you owe me." And at first I was like, okay, they're gonna play in their independent scene history like they're the king and queen of death matches in GCW, so cool. Then he holds up a contract and tells Steph that I own you. And I was just like, oh shit. My heart sunk into my chest, and I'm like, it's about to be one of those promos, isn't it? So then Matt goes through the fact that he discovered Steph in Australia, gave her all these opportunities, paid for meals, paid for travel, got her booked on all these shows, brought her to TNA originally. And so Steph owes Matthew everything. Steph fires back and says, "No, you may have helped, but I, at the end of the day, was the one that got here." And then it got scary, Will, because the imagery of Matt pushing Steph into the corner, getting all up in her face. Now, granted, I know that they did this because we're supposed to hate Matt, and they did a good job at it. I just don't like that we got shades of DV and any type of spousal, like, non good things. Thankfully, PCO comes out at the end for the save as Matt runs out the ring. And we're continuing to tell the story that eventually it's going to lead to PCO versus Matt for those titles. But I had to pause at the end of this segment when it ended, Will, because I had to sit there and process what I watched. I was like, I don't like these types of promos. And again, I'm being a little bitch about it. And I'm like, of course, nobody's actually hitting anyone. But the message and just like it's 2024. And the fact that we're still doing these kinds of stuff is icky. I know we're supposed to hate Matt. I just don't like how we went about doing it at Steph's, expense, making her look weak when she's not. And I think that's my issue. We made Steph look weak. Where was the Steph Delano that was badass and she was throwing Jordan Grace around at Rebellion? She teamed up with Khan at Under Siege to face Jordan and PCO. This made Steph feel a lot smaller than she actually is, not just physical wise, but like metaphorical wise. Like she shrunk into herself like a scared little girl. And I hated this for Steph.
It was disgusting. It was so gross. I felt so gross watching it. I was just like, what? What is happening? Why is this happening? I mean, it was one of those, like, there was that moment, like, when he grabbed her, like, it didn't feel staged. It felt a little too real. Even though I'm pretty sure Steph could probably whoop his ass, but it felt it got a little too real, and I wasn't there for that. I just was like, no, nope. I'm sorry. You can make Matt Cardona look horrible other ways. That's not. We didn't have to go there, and I think that. And then he puts her between him and PCO and then like a shield. I'm just like, dude, you are disgusting. I mean, I don't know. It made my skin crawl. It was so gross.
Yeah. This was definitely a tough watch. And obviously, as wrestling fans, we tend to suspend our disbeliefs. Now, I want to preface by saying this because I know people in the comments are going to come after this. I know for a fact that Matt isn't like this for real. And Steph, we know, can kick anybody's ass, honestly. So obviously, this is not a real thing. I just don't like using some of the morally gray types of real life scenarios to perpetuate storylines in wrestling. I mean, it was all prevalent in the 80s and the 90s, but those were different times. This is 2024. We can't be using shades of DV and spousal, hitting and things like that as perpetuated storyline. This is a toxic relationship, and I hate it. I'm disgusted with how we presented Matt, but my biggest problem, and this is the lowest point for me, is that it took everything that we built Steph up to be as his badass. We shrunk her down. It took one segment to shrink her down to a scared little girl. And I hate that for her as a character and her as a personal wrestler. That the fact that PCO had to come save her, which, they are married. So definitely defend your wifey. I'm all here for that. I just hated the fact that it kind of pushed Steph's character back a little bit. And then it also pushed her as a person back a little bit. I was like, I hate this for Steph. I think this was not fun to watch.
Nope.
No. So we could have a whole discussion about it, but we could. And the sucky thing is, Will, is that we still had the rest of the show to watch too. And it took me a bit to get out of there. It took me a bit to get out of those feelings because I hated it.
Yep.
Because like it took me a bit because I couldn't even enjoy the next couple things that happened before our main event because of it. So I had to go rewatch it because it wasn't fair to them. So
I know.
I know. So thankfully they cut to commercial after that segment. And when we come back, we get a quick backstage promo from Jeff and Matt Hardy, who next week are coming after the system. And if they win, they get to the winners go on to face ABC. I don't know. We're throwing too many tag teams, but the Hardys are facing the system next week to get some payback. Who knows if they're going to win? We'll find out with all. And
Right.
yeah, I was like, I love the Hardys, but like,
Yeah.
to channel Andrew, I was just like, I think it's time for them to move on to something
I do
else.
too. I think it's time to find another project. You know, it's like I love you guys, but it's time to move on. It is.
I was like, y'all came back for a pop. We love what you do, but you are a legacy, and I love you for it. But you cannot keep. I'm sorry. I love the Hardys. They are important in tag team wrestling history, but they cannot keep up with the teams we have now. Like, I don't see them keeping up with the ABC, the Good Hands, like none of that. But we will see them in action against the system next week, which then brings us into our second to last match of the evening. Eric Young taking on What's My Name, Jake something. And I was mad at how short this match was. I was just like, as when Jake's music hits and he was running down the entrance, I paused. I was just like, okay. And then when I pressed play, the match itself was, I wanted more. I don't like the fact that it was short. I understand why it was short. I just don't like that it was. So for what we got in the match, though, I thought it was pretty entertaining. I keep forgetting how good Eric Young is, but that's because we don't consistently see him enough in the TNA ring right now. Since Post Rebellion, we haven't really seen too much of him, and he's usually on the losing side of things. So it was kind of nice to see him win. And honestly, to me, Jake can lose against Eric something and it won't hurt him in return, because then we're not here to talk about the match because the match was fine, but we're here to talk about what happened afterwards, because Jake finally snapped, and Andrew has been calling it for months as well as the rest of us here. Jake snapped, and now he turned monster heel, because then as he's leaving and like we think he's going to leave the ring, he turns around, he attacks Eric Young, and he hits into the void on Eric Young. And so Jake has turned heel, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. I was like, I think it just got hotter in here.
Yeah, it totally did. Oh my God. It was just like, oh. It was right after, I think it was right after he took Eric out. Then he like looked at the camera towards the camera, and he just flexed every muscle he had, and just the look on his face. I was just like, holy Jesus. Take me now. Right now. Because good God.
You're just
good
like,
later.
Give me the 3 count. So Jake attacks Eric, and then as Jake is about to hit another into the void, Steve Macklin comes running down the ramp to save Eric Young. So Eric said he just had Steve's back, and now it seems that Steve will have Eric's back. So listen, if we get a feud between these three, I am here for it. Also, I'm mad at you, Will, because since you have a couple weeks ago, ever since you said that Steve Macklin's like jawline and his mouth, I cannot unsee it. I hate you.
I know. I'm telling you.
I hate you so much.
It's just huge. God. Anyway.
I was like, talk about a prominent jawline. But hey, you know what? Short match. I wasn't like, it was all right, but I'm happy for what we got, because now Jake's a heel and he's about to destroy folks. So I am kind of here for it. Listen, now that we have a heel Jake something, I want my time, and I want what we were supposed to get at Under Siege. You need to give me Jake versus Hammerstone immediately. We are still deprived of that match. Give it to me now. Like,
agreed.
Anyway, I'm interested to see where Jake goes as a heel. This is going to be fun to watch. And as his number one fan, Will also be watching.
Oh yeah, I will be.
It's like, sir, why are you perspiring? Don't worry about it.
Yeah, don't worry about it. It's fine. Everything's fine.
So it really is. So we get the little graphic that TNA signs a new knockout to its division next. We get a signing of Heather Reckless. So me and Andrew are a little bit more familiar with Heather Reckless. She has made a couple of appearances in GCW. She's made a lot of appearances in Ring of Honor and other independent promotions as well. And it seems that she has landed because she's also been on Explosion a couple of times for TNA. And it seems that they signed her. And again, I'm never going to say no to more knockouts in the knockouts division. So Gia interviews her for a little bit. She is the happy go lucky, I'm super excited to be here wrestler kind of vibes. But then she gets interrupted by Ash, my elegance. Listen, I know Ash is a heel. You can never make me hate Ash. Like BC WrestlePod and Ash, like we've been here with her for the whole entire journey. So like you can never make me hate her, especially since she also signed a picture for Will that he has hanging somewhere in his house. Like,
in my
honestly,
office.
I know I had the pictures I got at the Wrestle show, but honestly, that was probably my favorite, and I was a little jealous. I was like, I'm gonna keep this and say, no, I can't do that. I promised Will I would get him to something signed by Ash, and as a bonus, we got to interview her. So go us. But you can never make me hate Ash. But Ash tells Heather, she's like, you got to watch your back around here. You know, people will call you disgusting and ugly. And I was just like, damn, Ash, we're coming in strong, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then she was interrupted by Giselle Shaw. And I was just like, all righty, Giselle, here we go. So it seems that Ash and Giselle are going to be having a match. And as we know, Giselle has officially finished up with TNA as the time at the end of these tapings happen. So she is no longer in TNA, which makes me a little bit sad. I love me some Giselle Shaw, but I hope wherever she ends up going really well. So
she went over to, didn't she go over to Maple Leaf?
She is scheduled to appear at Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling's first show, so she might end up staying there. But I feel like right now Maple Leaf is probably going to be like GCW, where they grab like a bunch of wrestlers from different places and to have a couple of shows. But hey, you know what? I love Giselle. I'm happy that we had her, and you know what? I'm going to be following her to see what she does next. But we then get our bumpers for what's about to go down next week. Again, First Class versus ABC for the titles. The Hardys come back for revenge and all kinds of stuff like that. And then we get into our main event of the evening. This is a tag team match where I forgot to mention this at the beginning, but Moose and JDC, Johnny Dango Curtis, will be teaming up. And if Moose and JDC lose, JDC is out. He is not joining the system. And as soon as I heard those stipulations, I was like, all right, Mike Santana and Joe Hendry are about to lose this match, aren't they? And by the end of it, I was like, yes, but not in the way that I thought it was going to go down. So we get this match again. While I hate JDC's character, I actually thought this was a really, really fun match, especially on the side of Mike Santana and Joe Hendry. I'm just like, I did not know this was a tag team that I needed. But now I want it. Like Joe Hendry and Mike Santana actually are a really good tag team, Will.
I agree.
And so the match is going. We get close falls from everyone. JDC is getting some moves in. Moves almost pins Mike and Joe separately. Mike Santana almost hits spin the block. Joe Hendry goes for a standing ovation. While this match is going down, Josh Alexander, just for whatever reason, is like on commentary. And then not betrayal, but then shenanigans happens because unbeknownst to Santana, while he was dealing with Moose and JDC, Josh Alexander gets up from commentary and literally dick punches Joe Hendry to kind of take him out of the match, which allows JDC and Moose to pin Mike Santana for the win. So I was like, oh, hell nah. I was like, fine, be that way, sure. I was like, makes sense. Josh and Joe Hendry had that, confrontation earlier in the show. Mike Santana continues to have beef with Moose, so we're going to continue those storylines. And, let's just talk about Nick now, because I want to talk about the big announcement that came from our main event, because Nick has been watching this on his phone. He wants to be the one that beats Moose because he never got the chance to say he's beaten Moose because at Rebellion, Nick Nemeth unfortunately was not able to beat Moose for the title. And so now he wants to say that he did. And that's how TNA ends. And I was just like, okay, fine. Then fast forward like 7 minutes later, I get notification from Twitter. It's like breaking news. A new match for Victory Road has been made. I was like, oh, okay, let's take a look. I say this affectionately and, not to degrade women, but Will, I was like, bitch. Like, the match that got made for Victory Road is Josh Alexander versus Joe Hendry, and I literally perspired. I was like, oh my God, it's going down, you guys. It's happening. Holy shit. We're in DEFCON 5. This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill. Will, I don't know about you. I think the whole pay-per-view is going to be fun, but that match alone is my most anticipated. And honestly, if it goes any way that I hope it does, it's ending up in my top 3 of the year. I do not give a flying fuck. Like,
I agree.
Holy shit, Will, like, we're finally here. We get a singles match between these two, and we've been building this since Slammiversary. Long-term storytelling, peoples. Sorry, I got loud. It was crazy. Holy crap. I gotta calm myself down because, like, woo! I may have blown up a couple headphones and speakers, but that's okay. But Will, first, what were your thoughts about the main event? And then what are your feelings about Josh versus Joe at Victory Road?
Well, the main event kind of went the way I thought it might go because, especially when I saw Josh there, I was like, all right, we're about to have some shenanigans. And boom, we did. So I was like, okay. So, and then when that came across, the Josh and Joe fight, J&J, I think that's going to be badass. I think it's going to be so badass that I can't wait. I seriously can't wait.
Oh, me neither. And that's going to bring us to the end of TNA. But before we go off for the evening, since we are not going to have a Go Home Show episode review next week due to me and Will joining Adolfo for the CMLL watch along, we are going to quickly do our predictions for Victory Road. I know we are here. I'm just like, I hate these 2-week turnarounds, Will. I really do.
Do we know all of the matches for sure for Victory Road? Do we know them all?
Well, according to the website, and thank you, TNA, for being one of the few wrestling promotions to actually put all your match cards for me to, copy and paste onto our slideshows. We will probably have all the final matches made by next Thursday after the Go Home Show, but we do have a couple of them already made. So
right.
I do not have so I do not have a slideshow for this one, but here we go. So currently, as it stands, we have 5 matches scheduled for Victory Road. So and they are outside of Josh and Joe. All of them are championship matches. So I was like, okay, championship matches are going to happen. It's going to be a good time for sure. So let's start off with the first one. Let's talk about the Knockouts Tag Team Division, the Knockouts Tag Team title match. So this is the Militia, Samasha Slamovich and Alicia Edwards defending their titles against Spitfire. The stipulation here is that if Spitfire loses this match, they have to break up as a tag team. Every time I pick Spitfire, Will, I have always gotten burned, and they never seem to win. I don't care about the scores anymore. I'm going to follow my heart on this one. I feel like they need to win this one because I just can't live in a world where Danny Luna and Jody Threat are not a tag team. Like, I can't have that. So I'm going to pick Spitfire to win here.
I would too. That's who I would pick. I agree. I think that because Alicia and they're the last of the system to hang on to their titles. So I'm thinking that, in order for the system to do a true reboot, you got to get rid of all of them. So I'm hoping that I'm hoping that Spitfire will win this.
I hope so too. So we're still talking about tag team action. So let's move on from our knockouts to our men. So we have for the World Tag Team titles, we have the System invoking their rematch clause. So Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers taking on ABC. I'm just picking out a spite here. I'm gonna go with ABC. I feel like it's too soon to take the titles off of them. I feel like they still got more left in the tank on this third title reign that they just started not that long ago at Slammiversary. So I'm gonna be picking ABC to retain.
Yep, me too.
Sweet. So moving on to our X Division Championship, Speedball Mike Bailey invoking his rematch clause against our champion Zachary Wentz. This one hurts me because I feel like I would love to see. I don't want to see Mike lose, but I also don't want to see Zach lose, especially since he just got this championship. But
Yeah.
as much as it hurts me, I am going to pick Zachary Wentz to retain. I think you cannot give it to him at Emergence just to have him lose it 2 weeks later at Victory Road.
Yeah, no, I'm going with Wentz as well because I think it's. Yeah, I agree with you on the reasoning, but it's too soon. I can't imagine. Like, here, hold this title for me. Okay, thanks. Maybe take it away from you now. It's like, no,
Yeah.
I agree. I think Wentz will retain.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think Wentz is going to retain. So then we get to the only non-title match scheduled for this, and I'm 50-50 on this one. Josh Alexander versus Joe Hendry, because you can't make me like, I think I know where Will is going, but I think that, and I hope we do, because we still got a couple of pay-per-views left in the year. I'm gonna say I'm gonna pick Josh to win. I think Josh wins this one, but Joe gets the big one at Bound for Glory. I think that's what we might be building to. I hope we are. And it hurts me to pick against our little boy, Joe Hendry, whom we love dearly. But I'm gonna go with Josh in this one. I think Josh should win, given the fact that he lost at Slammiversary and he lost at Emergence against Nick Nemeth too. So I think Josh is going to win this one by, doing some shenanigans. Joe's going to get a rematch at Bound for Glory, and Bound for Glory is where Josh wins. So I'm going with, or Joe wins. I'm going to go with Josh on this one.
Cool. Until he gives me a reason not to, I'm going with Joe.
Hell yeah. Well, the first different pick between the two of us. I love it.
And yeah, I could never go against Joe.
It hurts to pick between the two people I love the most in TNA right now. You literally have your two faces, the top two faces in the men's division for TNA. Like, when I think of TNA, it is Joe Hendry and Josh Alexander. It's like picking my favorite children. I don't want to do so. It hurts me.
I know. Me either.
Now, ultimately, regardless of who wins, I will be happy either way. I just want this match to be, I want this match to be as good as I think it's going to be in my head. And I hope it is, because if not, I might cry during the review when we review it.
Agreed.
So finally, what's probably going to be main eventing a Victory Road for the TNA World Championship, Nick Nemeth defending his championship against Moose, who is invoking his rematch clause from Slammiversary. I don't think Nick Nemeth is losing here. I think Nick is going to retain somehow, some way. So I'm picking Nick Nemeth to retain the championship.
Me too. Yeah, I'm. And it's funny because anytime the system is involved, I'm going to choose against them. So it could have been, if it wasn't Nick, it could have been anybody else, and I would have gone with them because I just don't. One, because I don't think it's time for them yet to, in their reboot, as they keep calling it or whatever. I think there will come a time where the system will start gaining their stuff back. But I don't think it's right now.
Yeah, I think eventually they will end up getting all their stuff back. But I agree with you. I don't think it's going to be at Victory Road. No. I can foresee them getting it back at the end of the year or even at Hard Kill next year, but definitely not now.
No.
So as of right now, that is going to be all our predictions for Victory Road. And then Will and Andrew said he still wants to participate in predictions. So I will be sending out that Google form next week, probably a Friday, once we see what other matches are on the card. But that is going to be it for us this week here at TNA, at the Takedown Troupe. Will, it's back to the old school days of just us two. And I forgot how fun it was just me and you. I do miss Andrew, but I'm like, we're back to what started it all. And it was kind of nice.
Yeah, it was.
So, yeah. So be sure, because we will not be back next Friday for a regular TNA review, but we will be back on Sunday. I almost said November. I'm like, my brain's already thinking to Thanksgiving already, but we will be back Sunday, September 15th, as me and hopefully Will, if things aren't too crazy. We will be reviewing Victory Road that Sunday, but we got a jam-packed week coming up, as this technically is the final show of the week. Sunday, we are pulling, well, actually, it starts tomorrow, Saturday. Myself, Adolfo, Alice, and the Professor, we will be having a live watch along of AEW's All Out pay-per-view coming live from Chicago. It's going to be a fun one. I'm also having my friend Uriel join us, so that one's about to get on and popping and crazy. It's going to be fantastic. Sunday, we have our Dual Dynasty review for WWE, as well as our, that's going to be a fun show. Monday will be our AEW All Out pay-per-view review. Tuesday, we have our AEW show, which will be reviewing Collision, Rampage, and Dynamite. Wednesday is going to be interesting because we are reviewing like the go home shows for CMLL with our Los Lobos de la Lucha review. And then come next Friday, we will have our Ring of Honor review and the biggest event in Lucha Libre history, and at least for us two Latinos and a white boy, we are super excited to have the live watch along for CMLL's 91st Aniversario show, where we got some really fun matches, and I'm actually really excited. I'm really excited. I cannot wait to spend time with my homies and my brothers. So this is going to be fun. But that's going to be it for us here at the Takedown Troupe review. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoy what we do, make sure to hit that subscribe button on the YouTube. Follow us on the Twitch and follow us all over the social medias, especially since now I can officially announce it. Next Level and BC WrestlePod are teaming up to give away a custom wrestling belt to anybody who downloads and follows, us and Next Level on their app. So check our Instagram and our social medias for more details about that contest. And, from myself and Will and the rest of the BC WrestlePod boys, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, stay iconic, and more importantly than anything, you always deserve to finish your story. We will see you next week for the CMLL live watch along. Remember, no TNA review next week, but we will be back next Sunday, not this Sunday, but next Sunday for the Victory Road review. But until then, sayonara, adios, and Jake something, yes. And we believe in Joe Hendry. See you laters.